Today, I want to make a simple but uncomfortable argument. Most of the conversation about AI and work is looking in the wrong direction. We are obsessing over the jobs AI might erase, because those jobs already have names. But the more important story is about the jobs AI will create, and those jobs are much harder to see, because many of them do not have names yet. So this talk is not about predicting job titles. It is about mapping the structure beneath them. To see the problem clearly, let's start somewhere deliberately strange. Imagine going back to 1920 and telling a farmer that one day people would earn a living as social media strategists, wellness consultants, podcast producers, or even dog psychiatrists. He would not just think you were wrong, he would lack the words needed to understand the sentence. The technologies, the cultural conditions, the forms of stress, the household patterns, the attention economy, none of that existed yet. The job was not merely unnamed, it was structurally unthinkable. And that same asymmetry is shaping how we talk about AI today. When we say AI may replace a data entry clerk, that is easy to understand. We are comparing one named role with one named tool. The fear is legible. It has vocabulary. But when we try to describe what AI will create, we run into a different problem. The new roles require a chain of inventions, habits, institutions, and needs that have not happened yet. You cannot name the job until the world that needs the job exists. That is why the public conversation becomes so lopsided. The fear side of the conversation has grammar. AI will replace X. It has a subject, a verb, an object, and a timeline. The opportunity side does not. It is silent, not because it is small, but because it is not yet speakable. So we mistake silence for absence. We assume that because we cannot name the new work will not exist. That is the core error. But the blind spot is deeper than language. It is also about experience. Human beings are very good at sensing quality in domains we know. A chef can taste when something is off. An editor can feel when a paragraph is dead. A farmer can sense soil, weather, livestock. But we cannot quality sense a world we have not lived in. The farmer could not feel the need for a digital detox retreat leader. And we cannot yet feel many of the human needs that will emerge once AI is woven into everyday work. This is also why expertise does not fully solve the problem. Experts are usually calibrated to the current system. Their models are fitted to the world as it exists now. Current job categories, current institutions, current assumptions about what humans and machines can do. But when the underlying capability changes, the map quietly expires. The expert model still works mechanically, but it is now pointed at a reality that is moving underneath it. So the problem is not that prediction is useless. The problem is that we keep predicting the wrong thing. So here is the pivot. We cannot reliably predict the content of the future. The exact titles, industries, salaries, and cultural forms. Those depend on realities that have not been built. But we can predict structure. We can ask, whenever a powerful new capability enters the economy, what human functions reliably appear around it? That is the shift. Stop asking, what will the jobs be called? Start asking, what positions must be filled for this capability to work in the world? Once we ask that question, a pattern appears. Every powerful capability source creates a mediation layer around it. A printing press needed typesetters, editors, distributors, proofreaders. A factory needed planners, operators, inspectors, maintenance workers. AI is no different. The model is not the whole system. Around it, humans construct context, verify outputs, sense quality, calibrate interfaces, manage state, orchestrate workflows, adapt in real time, compress traces, and measure performance. That surrounding layer is where much of the future work will live. Let's walk through those positions. The first boundary is input and output. AI does not simply receive reality. Someone has to prepare the reality it sees. That is context construction, deciding what information, constraints, examples, tools, and framing the model encounters. On the other side is output verification, deciding whether the result is not just fluent, but correct, appropriate, safe, and useful. In many organizations, both of these jobs are currently invisible, but invisible does not mean optional. Then we move from correctness into judgment. Verification asks, does this meet the known requirements? Quality sensing asks something subtler. Does this actually work? That is the human capacity to feel whether something is coherent, alive, emotionally right, culturally resonant, or aesthetically sound before we can fully explain why. AI is weak here because it cannot taste its own dish. Alongside that is interface calibration, learning how a particular model behaves in a particular context and retuning as the model changes. Now the problem becomes temporal. How does AI work persist over time? Most valuable work is not one prompt and one answer. It unfolds over time. State management is the work of deciding what should be remembered, compressed, discarded, or reconstructed as an engagement continues. Orchestration is the work of coordinating multiple models, tools, and humans so the result is coherent rather than stitched together. This is where AI stops being a single tool and becomes an operating environment. And once AI becomes an operating environment, oversight becomes its own discipline. Live adaptation is the flight control function. It means watching the system while it is operating and adjusting course when quality starts to drift. Trace compression is the oversight function. AI systems generate too much operational data for humans to inspect raw. Someone has to select the important moments, preserve the causal trail, and make the system legible without drowning people in logs. This is not administrative cleanup. This is how trust becomes operational. But there is one more position, and it may be the most important for organizations. When an AI system succeeds, we tend to credit the model. When it fails, we tend to blame the model. But often, the difference is not the model. It is the mediation layer around the model. Comparative measurement asks, how much better does the same model perform when we change the context, verification process, calibration strategy, or orchestration pattern? This makes the human-designed layer visible, and once it is visible, it can be improved. Now the pattern becomes bigger than AI. These positions are not a list of trendy AI jobs. They are a recurring architecture. You see versions of them in surgery, aviation, kitchens, film production, Formula One, legal practice, and software engineering. Any powerful capability source needs humans around it who prepare, verify, sense, tune, coordinate, and oversee. AI is simply the most general-purpose capability source we have created, so the mediation ecosystem around it will be enormous. That lets us talk about the future more responsibly. We should separate the future into horizons. The near horizon contains roles already forming, though often under bad names. The middle horizon contains roles that need intermediate technical and cultural development. The far horizon contains roles that sound absurd today, the way dog psychiatrist would have sounded absurd to the farmer. The farther out we go, the less we should pretend to know the content, but the structure remains visible. So let's begin with what is already appearing. The near horizon includes context architects, calibration engineers, and mediation quality analysts. These are not science fiction. Organizations already need people who can design the information environment around AI, keep systems tuned as models change, and measure whether performance comes from the model or from the human-designed workflow around it. These roles may not have stable titles yet, but the work is already here. It is just hiding inside other job descriptions. The middle horizon gets more interesting because it moves into areas AI is especially bad at sensing. Relational calibrators will tune AI-generated communication for human relationship, not just whether the message is clear, but whether it lands as respectful, attentive, supportive, or damaging. Experiential integrity specialists will ask whether AI-generated experiences hold together as coherent wholes. The parts may all be competent, but the whole may still feel dead. That gap between component quality and lived coherence is exactly where human quality sensing becomes valuable. The next middle horizon roles are about cognition over time. Cognitive ecology designers will shape the overall relationship between a person and an AI-augmented environment. What gets automated, what surfaces for attention, what rhythms protect judgment instead of eroding it. Rhythm specialists will work at different temporal grains, real-time systems, deep preparation moments, long-running projects, cold start crises. The common thread is that AI changes not only what we do, but the tempo at which work happens. Someone has to design that tempo. Further out, the roles start sounding strange, and that is exactly the point. Embodied transition practitioners sound odd today because we have not yet fully experienced the identity shock of AI changing cognitive labor. But if millions of people lose familiar work as identity structures, new forms of support will emerge. AI human ensemble directors also sound futuristic, but the structure is familiar. Someone coordinates a mixed ensemble of human and machine contributors, so the output is irreducible to either one alone. Strange titles, familiar structural positions. Meaning infrastructure engineers and institutional recalibration specialists point to the deepest layer of change. If AI absorbs more instrumental work, producing, optimizing, analyzing, administering, human economic activity may move increasingly toward meaning, identity, relationship, and experience. Meanwhile, institutions built around old assumptions about human cognitive limits will need to be retuned. Law, education, healthcare, finance, all of them will need new mediation structures for an AI-saturated world. So, we return to the farmer. The farmer could not see the social media strategist, but the structural position was there. Someone would eventually construct context for a new communication capability, calibrated to a specific platform, operating at high frequency across varied tasks. It just needed several inventions before it could receive a name. We are in the same position now. We cannot see the names, but we can see the architecture. And that is the real conclusion. The silence is not emptiness. It is the space where names have not formed yet. The jobs are coming, not because we can forecast every title, but because every powerful capability source in history has generated a human ecosystem around it. AI will be no exception. The real story is not simply that AI destroys work. The deeper story is that AI reorganizes work and creates new human roles wherever capability needs context, judgment, coherence, trust, and meaning. The jobs are coming. They just do not have names yet.